Hello again, and welcome to my special bonus video for my new chess series, The Heart of Chess. So last we left off, I was talking about new beginnings, and I mentioned that one of the new beginnings that took place in my life was my dad teaching me chess. Well, right now, I actually have a special guest on the phone, and it's none other than my own pops. My dad is on the phone right now with me. Hey, Dad, what's going on?
Not too much.
He's a little nervous, but even when you can't see him, so give him some slack. It's okay. So, Dad, thanks for answering. Uh, I have a couple of questions to ask you, actually, and I was hoping
Sure,
I
go
can
ahead.
I can strain your memory to the past.
It's more like stress my memory.
Yeah, that's actually true. This is like the stress test.
Right.
So, my first question is, why did you start off teaching me chess?
Well, I think there was a couple of reasons. First of all, I remember when I was a kid, I started to play chess, and it was my brother who taught me. And I remember I lost the very first game, and then for the next few years, I never lost a single game. And
Wow.
and I was thinking of you at about the same age, and I thought, this would be a great thing to introduce you to chess, and it's really good, what I call brain exercise. I don't know if a doctor would agree with me. So I decided, let's get on with this, like start teaching you chess. And I have to admit, when I started off, you were, I think you must have been, what, 8 or 9 years old? I don't remember
No, I was four.
exactly.
I was four. I
Or you were
remember that
down
for
there,
sure.
yeah. So I remember playing with you very easily, like they didn't get into anything strong type of chess. I wanted to encourage you. So I kind of made sure that you won half the games and lost half the games. So I didn't want you to win everything because I wanted you to encourage you to improve. But I wanted to make sure that you never stopped, that you would like it. You'd love the winning so much you'd keep going. And basically, you got to the point where you started playing with competitors and stuff like that. And I told you, it wasn't too long before you were way better than I was. And that's when I stopped playing with you.
It's funny you talked about the brain mind with chess, because in Quebec, I know this because you were born there. They were running chess in high schools. It was actually part of the math curriculum on developing chess in high schoolers, and this was like 10, 15 years ago. So I remember that article way back. So it kind of makes sense, because obviously my logic and my math skills went up tremendously, at least in the beginning, because of it. So,
Well, that's good. So maybe I guess it means it did work.
oh yeah, it did work. And then
Yeah.
see, now everyone that's listening, if you have a son, a daughter, or a brother, or a sister, younger, get them into chess. Trust me, this is you can't get this advice anywhere else. My dad's telling me, look at all the benefits that took place, and he made me a competitor because look how you encouraged me that way. So I'm really glad you did this. And
Yeah, I remember. I think the chess game I remember the most is I was at the point where you're a teenager, and I wasn't playing with you anymore by then, but I was actually driving you to major competitions, and it was you competed against. I think, was it the Canadian champion that you competed against? But it was a group session where he would go and play with, I don't know, 30 or 40 chess players who were in
yes,
the room, and he would walk around like that, and he defeated most of them except for 3 people he couldn't defeat, and he tied those 3 people, and then you were one of them. So I was pretty proud of that.
yes, that I remember that. So to recap,
Yeah.
I was part of the Mississauga Chess Club. And this is actually another video I'm going to share with everyone on the importance of clubs, but I'll save that for next time. But what happened was that in the chess club, that's where I really brought my ELO level from, like, at least a couple hundred points greater. But at that time, our number one chess champion, our grandmaster, was Kevin Sprague. He was the top GM of Canada, and he came as so what they say, what it's called is that when a grandmaster does like 30, 40 games, it's called a simul.
Oh, yeah.
So he ran a simul, and I remember I was there. And believe it or not, that I actually remember writing down all the moves. I just can't find that sheet of paper because I would love to recap that entire game. But it was actually 4 hours, and I actually had a better position than him. But because it was 4 hours, it was 1 a.m. and everyone wanted to go home, he was just like, "Do you want to draw?" And I was like, "Fine, we'll draw." But I had winning chances, Dad. I could have potentially have beaten him. But the problem is that since he's a grandmaster, he's like completely focusing all his power on me, right? So I could easily lose too.
So if you ever find that sheet, maybe that'd be your next YouTube video.
Oh God, I wish. I honestly, that's another thing I want to do. I'm going to try and look for all the previous history games I've done and actually analyze them. And there's actual tournaments coming up in the future that I think I'm going to refresh my membership into the Canadian Chess Federation. So remember the first tournament I won? I became I became a member, and then obviously it expired, right? So I feel like if I play in tournaments and I record all the moves, I can then share with everyone my moves and the games and my thought process. I think that's actually quite intimate that a lot of people would learn from.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too. So my last question is, I actually didn't come up with a question for this one, but I'm just going to think off the top of my head. If there's one thing you could have done that could have, in your mind, propel me even further in chess, because now chess is kind of really mainstreamed. It always has been. There's like all these opportunities and competitions and different ranks and etc. If there was one thing you would have done differently to change, to really take the potential out of me and just exploit it and make it better, what would you have done?
I probably would just have encouraged you a lot more to get into major chess tournaments. And I think that there was one point where it was getting difficult for me because of the type of work I was involved. Mm-hmm. And I suppose the best way of doing it was for you to get your own car, but you were way too young at the time.
Yeah, 12-year-old driving a car, not exactly legal.
Yeah. That's well. No, you were a little older than 12 years old, but mm-hmm. I think that at the time you were around 15 or 16. Still a little too early, but I was at the time. That's when you kind of fell off of going to the chess games and tournaments.
Yeah.
And because you got caught up in other things, and I got caught up with. I wasn't able to spend a lot of time taking you because of work-related things. So I think that's probably the only thing that would have changed if my life hadn't changed, my work and everything else, and I suppose if you were a bit older at the time, maybe you could have gotten yourself a car and a license.
That's true.
But
so I guess to refine the question, what would you tell my audience that is listening right now and watching on YouTube? What would you say is the one thing they could do to really, I guess, continue on with chess, or maybe even to start off in playing chess from a fatherly teaching point of view?
Yeah. Well, the biggest difference between then and now is if you have any kind of interest in chess, there's a huge amount of information available to help you function with it, to help you make moves and to understand it. That's a level I never got to. The only level I got to when I played chess, I never studied books and studied strategy. I just sat there and moved the pieces around. And when you got to the point where you started, I remember you started study strategy through books and articles and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's when you went beyond me.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. You just reminded me something. I remember with the Toronto Star, every Sunday, I would cut out article clippings and I would paste them, every single one, for like 5-6 years, and that was the tactics trainer. But also,
but nowadays, just think nowadays it's way easier. You can actually go online, and if you're a really good chess player, there's probably not a computer program yet that can handle really top. But
Dad, they can now. They can now.
If you're a young teenager and or if you're starting to get in, there's just a huge amount of information online that you could study strategy with, and then practice with whatever programs or things they have online. So that's the big difference. There's just way more information and many more techniques to use to improve your chess. And you don't have to travel anywhere. You can just stay right in your living room and do all of this stuff. Like, you don't have to go out and go to some university or some high school has a tournament or a bunch of guys getting together to do this and that, and it takes a long time to get there. So you could play way many more chess games in a single day than you can when you were young.
See, my dad speaks a lot of wisdom. So for anyone out there who thinks that they can't find a chess club or find something in terms of interaction, well, guess what? There's a database everywhere, and there are people just like you who are out there willing to connect. So the way I look at it, it's just opportunity. It's just push yourself to reach out for it, and you'd be surprised at what could transpire. Wow, Dad, you really made me reminisce a lot of things that even I couldn't remember. Whew, jeez.
You brought back a lot of memories, I have to admit.
Oh, see, good memories, Dad. Well, don't worry, I will be in a tournament one day, and you can come in and see me
Fantastic.
play. And I know you always cheer for me all the time.
Yep.
All right, well, that's it for this special YouTube video. I'm going to say bye to Dad real quick, and then I'm just going to say my final words. So, Dad, thank you so much for taking your time doing this.
No problem. Anytime.
All right, love you, Dad.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was, man, I got moved. I completely remember all the times I took out articles. So, you know how we have tactics trainers and Lead Chess and chess.com? Well, in the old days, in the Toronto Star, when I was like 10, 11, 12, what would they do is they would take one tournament game that was really surprising, like that had really great moves that took place, and then they would post that with also a mate in two sequence, and I would cut it out all the time, and I would solve the mate in two, and then I would read the entire like annotation of the moves and just understand how it works. And I think at a young age, when you do that and you read it and you understand when the commentators from a writing point of view, they explain it and the different ways of thinking, I think that really expands your mind as well. So I'm really discovering this along with all of you, how all these different methods, if combined together, can really propel you and keep you moving forward. Well, that's it for this special YouTube video. I really hope you enjoy it, and I will have some other special YouTube videos that are coming along, but I'm really going to stick to the main topic of the heart of chess, and I'll have number 3 ready tomorrow. Till then, really appreciate that you've enjoyed my content and you've given me a lot of positive support. I'm very surprised. I like how a lot of people were talking about they like my style, and more importantly, they like the uniqueness of what I'm bringing to the table. And I think that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Till then, take care and have a good night.